I'm Corbett Wall with DV Auction, here with your feeder flash for Friday, February the 23rd, where Pratt livestock braved the hazardous weather conditions, the road conditions, had a big sale there in Pratt despite the ice storm that was moving through and hard to get cattle out. They already had the cattle in there. They needed to go ahead and sell them, and they got along pretty good despite everything that happened. They weren't able to get a federal state market reporter there because of the bad weather, but luckily Cattle Market Central had the automated system there, and we've got some quotes for you. It wasn't me. I was in Colorado braving the Monarch Pass trying to get to the western slope to a pot of gold bull sale on Friday, but we'll look at all those quotes and what happened in the fat cattle market too. But look at the board on Thursday. April live cattle down 85 cents to end the day at 125.37, and I don't think it's a complete sell-off here. I mean, we've got some bearish tones going on. The board had been up for many sessions for the last couple of weeks, and it was time to back off a little bit, and it's not falling completely out of bed. It's just kind of in a bearish mode right now, and kind of a correction type deal. February spot live cattle down $1.30 to end the day at 128.35, and for most of the sales that happened on Wednesday and again on Thursday, that's just kind of a wash on the basis there, not able to gain any ground there. But March feeder cattle down 65 cents to end the day at 146 even. April's down $1.02 to end the day at 148.07. Your fat cattle trade continued on Thursday. After Wednesday, they ended up selling 40,100 head in just Texas and Kansas. That's pretty good movement just for the southern plains there. But you know, they caved in at $1.28. Kind of got spooked by the big sell-off early in the Wednesday session on the CME. But it kind of hung everybody else in the northern plains. You know, Nebraska and Colorado had to follow suit on Thursday and sell cattle at 128. They did get some 128.5, and not just a few, enough to make a difference. So that'd be $1.50 to $2 lower, and they were saying, you know, thanks a lot Texas for that, and we don't feel quite so bad about messing up the Big 12 after you guys did that to us. But the dress trade that the northern plains actually got to negotiate, they didn't have to follow suit. There hadn't been any dress trade to speak of at all, and the northern plains got to negotiate that, and they still got 205, steady with last week. So you know, that goes to show you that the market shouldn't have been any lower. Had some guys got spooked by that big sell-off early in the Wednesday session on the board. They took 128 plus another $1.50 off of that for a negative basis, and we should have been able to hold 130 and 205, but we did hold the 205. But I would say pretty much the trade's over now for the week. We've seen some pretty significant trade in the southern plains, and I'm sure on Thursday there's going to be enough to kind of finish up after that monster volume that we saw last week. But box beef cutout values, here's what the packers are enjoying here, have just been straight up here for the last week and week and a half here. But choice cutouts on Thursday ended the day at $218.40. That was up another $1.03 compared to Wednesday's close, and up $9.36 from the same day a week ago. Wow, you just don't see that kind of jump in box beef cutout values very often. But your packers sent out new price lists, and they just demanded that price. They pretty much control both ends, buying and selling of their products, and they've got it made. That's why your packers and your corporate companies that own the packers have had such a gangbuster year the last couple of years. But select cutouts, $212.06, up just 14 cents. You look at the slaughter for the week, they're dialing it back a little bit, but maybe not as bad as what we feared, because you know, they're making money. Look at the boxes there. 441,000 through Thursday. That was down 19,000 from the big week a week ago, but down just 4,000 from the same week a year ago. Now look at your feeder cattle market. Your real-time index on Beef Market Central late in the day on Thursday was sitting exactly at 147 even. It was down $1.03 It's funny because that was sitting at 147 even. Your closest spot feeder cattle contract on the board was sitting at 146 even, so that's just a dollar basis there. Your CME's latest CME feeder cattle index that came out on Wednesday was sitting at 148.05, and your RTI was down $1.03 at 147. Now that's pretty tight once the CME feeder cattle index catches back up. Now let's look at some sales on Thursday. Like I said, Pratt, Kansas had over 3,200 head there. Weren't able to get that market reported anywhere else but the automated report here on Cattle Market Central. It included 17 straight pot loads that we quoted on Cattle Market Central and was running across the top ticker on your National Beef Wire. Your popular weights on your big feeders were $2 to $3 lower. Has a lot to do with the weather. It's not going to be safe and easy to get those cattle out of there, but they had a lot of nice cattle that were already in the yards before that ice storm come through. We did see some sharply lower on a much lighter test of 6-weight cattle. And I don't know if they didn't have the backgrounders in there to buy them or they didn't have the right condition, but there wasn't nearly as much as there was a week ago. But you see that automated report right there. Now another report on Farmers and Ranchers Livestock, Salina, Kansas. They had a good sale there, over 2,700 head there. Look at the popular weights there, were $2 to $6 lower. But you know, it's a weather market. We had some bad storms come through the Midwest there. A lot of ice, and that's what is worse this time of year than anything. Of course, they're loving any moisture that they get in whatever form they get. They need it. They need it in the Flint Hills. They need it in the Southern Plains. This wheat could spark back up a little bit for the guys that have the ability to graze some of that out or graze it longer term than what we normally go March the 15th. But look at an individual quote on Thursday in Pratt, Kansas there. At 1 o'clock in the afternoon, they had 51 head of 1,004-pound feeder steers, bring $1.34. That's not too bad. That's your feeder flash for Friday.